Robert Moore was the Gestapo officer who interrogated Sophie Scholl, part of the White Rose resistance movement based in Munich. Like the Gestapo officer who arrested the family of Anne Frank, Robert Moore has been treated very well by history.
Stalingrad. Die einstige Wolga-Metropole ist zu einer toten Stadt geworden. Sie ist bis auf einige kleine Bezirke an der Wolga dem Feind entrissen. Überall in den Straßen eroberte Bunker und Barrikaden, zerstörte Geschützstellungen und Panzer. Ein Transportzug mit halbfertigen Panzerkampfwagen. Sie konnten nicht mehr abtransportiert werden.
Whilst the panzers were on their way to disaster in Stalingrad in the east, the Munich Gestapo started to receive duplicated flyers with the heading, "The White Rose." The sheets comprised of 2 typewritten pages and were addressed to various people in the intellectual elite of the Third Reich. The Munich Gestapo was assigned with the task of finding out where these flyers came from. The evidence suggested that they originated in Munich, but the investigation was initially fruitless. As the German Sixth Army lay dying in Stalingrad, around 8,000 to 10,000 duplicated leaflets were found in housing blocks and on the pavement. The theme was Stalingrad and the message was anti-Nazi and anti-war. The objective was to end an already lost war. As Munich was without doubt the capital of the Nazi movement, it was after all where the party had been founded, such resistance was considered especially dangerous by the regime. Sometime around 11 in the morning of the 18th of February 1943, Moore was asked by telephone at his desk in the Munich Gestapo, the Wittelsbacher Palais, to report to his boss, Oberregierungsrat Oswald Schäfer. An Oberregierungsrat is a senior government councillor. Oswald Schäfer was at his desk behind a pile of these leaflets. Moore was ordered to drop whatever he was doing and to find those responsible for the leaflets. Almost at the same time, large numbers of leaflets with a similar or even the same content appeared in the mail in Stuttgart, Augsburg, Vienna, Salzburg and Innsbruck. As the mail was posted to addresses in these cities but hand-delivered in Munich, it appeared even more obvious that this was where the resistance group was. Up until then, the Gestapo had been able to determine that the envelopes were manufactured in Munich and the paper had been purchased there. The 8 Pfennig stamps had been purchased by one person from the post office on Ludwigstrasse in Munich. The counter clerk had been able to provide a description. The authors had clearly studied at university, and the addresses of the leaflets sent out in Munich and the surrounding area were taken from a university student directory. On the morning of the 18th of February 1943, there was a call from Munich University that a large number of leaflets had been thrown down from the balustrade of the atrium and that 2 people were being held there, suspected as being the propagators. Moore went to the university where he saw more of the leaflets that had been seen on Schäfer's desk. A university official called Schmidt claimed to have seen the 2 near the dropping point. There were 2 young people being held there who identified themselves as being the siblings, Sophie and Hans Scholl, by showing their student ID cards. Both were taken to the Gestapo by motor vehicle and questioned separately. Moore questioned Sophie Scholl. At first, Sophie Scholl denied having anything to do with the leaflets. She was on her way to the train station with her brother and popped into the university to see a friend. They had an empty suitcase to pick up some laundry from their parents' home in Ulm. Moore believed her story, as did Reich student leader Scholl, who was asked to talk to her. Moore told her that she would be released that very day. However, the Gestapo did a search of Hans Scholl's room and found hundreds of 8 Pfennig stamps and the draft of a handwritten leaflet. This made it appear that he was responsible for the leaflets. When informed, Sophie Scholl tried to take all the blame for herself. Her brother also tried to take the blame to save his sister. Thus, both tried to save the other. Now, both siblings said that their aim was to prevent an even greater disaster for Germany and perhaps do their part in saving the lives of German soldiers and people. Mür said that her attitude was one of when the fortune or misfortune of a great people is at stake, no means or sacrifice is too great to offer joyfully their own lives. Sophie and Hans Scholl were convinced to the last that their sacrifice was not in vain. Mür was impressed by the siblings and said that the others were too. As a result, he said that they were treated very well. Mür added that one of his colleagues stated that, with Hans Scholl, I encountered an intelligence that was almost alien to me. I regret that I can't do anything for him given the situation. The colleague even suggested that Hans Scholl had the making of a people's leader, such as might be needed in the future. Finally, he added the comment that it was terrible that such people had to die. Mür tried to persuade Sophie Scholl to say that she did not agree with her brother, but she refused. Mür was under pressure from Berlin to finish the investigation. On the 21st of February 1943, Roland Freisler travelled to Munich from the Reich capital and wanted the files given to him. Mür was summoned to the court hearing scheduled for 10 in the morning of the 22nd of February 1943 in the People's Court in Munich. As the accused had already fully confessed, no witnesses were required. As was his customary practice, Freisler screamed abuse at them and then sentenced them to death very quickly. That afternoon, between 1400 and 1500 hours, Mür went to the prison in Stadelheim where he met the parents of the Scholl siblings for the first time. As he walked down the prison corridor on his way to Sophie Scholl, he passed Hans Scholl, who was probably being led to his cell by a guard from the visiting room. Hans Scholl came up to him, shook his hand and said that he just told his parents to thank him for treating his sister so well, that he was now glad to be able to thank Mür personally. Mür said that he was so touched that he couldn't say a word, or maybe said something like, "Be strong now too." He couldn't remember, he was so taken aback. Sophie Scholl was in a cell crying. She apologized for her tears, saying, "I just said goodbye to my parents and you'll understand." Mür said a few words to her and left. The Scholls were executed shortly afterwards. Nazi Germany had introduced Sippenhaft, that is to say the arrest of family members of those opposed to the regime. According to this order, the next of kin of those arrested were to be sent to a concentration camp. As part of this order, the Scholl parents were also arrested in Ulm. Mür went to the prison in Ulm, where he had Robert Scholl brought in for interrogation. He assumed that Robert Scholl had no idea of what was going on in Munich. Mür wanted to get Robert Scholl to say that he did not agree with the opinions of his children. However, Robert Scholl told him what he thought of the Nazis in no uncertain terms. Scholl did not add to his report the political opinions of Robert Scholl and just wrote that he had had no knowledge of what his children were doing. In doing this, Mür probably saved Robert Scholl's life.